Assalamu alaikum everyone, which means peace and blessings be upon you, the non-Muslim viewers out there. This will be episode 4 of my podcast, and I'll keep it at maximum 20 minutes. Please see my disclaimer at the start of the video, which covers me legally. And today I want to speak about Community Corrections Order, CCO. So in Australia, when you come out of prison, they give you certain conditions and hours and physical work and mental health work that you have to complete. I've got 175 hours of that to complete in a year, over 12 months. And today was my first day in doing my first shift, the physical work. And I'm covered in grass because we went to our work was to cut the grass, and alhamdulillah I'm actually happy because I learned how to use a whipper snipper, which was pretty fun. So it's from 9:30 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. But yeah, that's besides the point. That's just introduction to what I did today. What I want to mainly focus on is coming back to the same topic that I've been stuck on, and I'll continue being stuck on this topic until I feel like it's the right time to move on. But today something really weird happened, right? I went there in the morning. I woke up in the morning and I'm on like 2 hours of sleep. So obviously waking up, I'm not gonna lie or beat around the bush. Oh, I didn't want to go. I was nervous from the night before, and even a couple of days before. We're human, right? It's I got cut. I got upset. I'm like, why do I have to go do 7-8 hours of unattended work? I'm trying to put my life together, and everyone has their own problems, right? Like that's the thing with life. Whatever stage you're at, the difficulties and the tests don't end. And I'm not trying to say this into. I'm not trying to say this into saying, "Oh, I'm going through the most difficulties, and everyone look at me, and I'm suffering and whatnot." No. That's beyond my point. Whatever difficulties and tests, whether it's raising children, right? That's a test. Marriage, that's a test. Like I told my friends and people all around me, and I tell them all the time, saying, "Look, I'm not married. I don't have a child, and if anything, I respect fathers and especially mums. You look at a child and they're so cute, and my nephew, for example, he's just over 1 year old, and it's really fun, when you get to see them. But there's obviously the side of looking after them, and that's the difficult part. That's just one example. Everyone has all sorts of difficulties and tests in their life. It could be going through physical health, losing your health, being in hospital. It could be mental health. It could be divorce. It could be financial struggle. Whatever it may be, right? The tests and the hardships don't end. Yeah, so let me just make that clear. My aim and intention is never to put myself out there to get any sort of, what's the word? Empathy, in that sense, where I want people to look at me and feel sorry for me, and or make myself feel like I'm the victim going through struggles, or I'm continuously stating that I've been to prison and I've lost everything, this and that. Like I will say it, right? And my intention in saying all of this is to put myself out there, because I'm not ashamed, right? And no one should be ashamed of the difficulties and struggles that they're going through. No one should be ashamed of as a man, I went to see a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I spoke about my mental health. Today, I had anxiety. Today, I felt depressed. Today, I was upset. That's the only reason why I'm putting myself out there. Real talk, right? Real talk. Just be real. That's my whole point, and my aim of this page. Be real. Don't hide from reality in every aspect. Yeah. If there's something that needs to be said, if there's something that needs to be spoken, both in religion and politics, and feelings and struggles and whatever it is in life, just speak your truth, right? Just say it for what it is. There's no need to hide from it. Doesn't make you less of a person. Doesn't make you a victim. It doesn't make you, you know, any different. Everyone already knows this. Everyone knows this clearly. The stuff that I'm saying is very basic knowledge. It's general knowledge. Like, again, I'm not a scholar. I'm not educated. It's very simple sentences that are coming out of my mouth. I haven't studied for years to say these comments. It's the only difference I see is I can just speak it out and just be as raw as it is. And I feel like a lot of people hide from that, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. Yeah, just speak your truth. Coming back to the topic, I was nervous. I was anxious. You get, like, men obviously don't react in a way where, you cry and, you show your feelings. Men show it through anger. They go silent, or, they keep it inside them. But truth be told, the words for these are, having a panic attack, anxiety, depression. And again, like, it comes and goes. And I woke up in the morning and, I'm on 2 hours of sleep. I smashed some coffee and I headed there, and I was pissed off. Like, I was really angry. And I went, because I have to go. It's part of my rule. But the day took a surprising turn, and you go there and you see some of the boys. Again, I don't give any names or descriptions or anything like that. This is just general talk, right? For legal purposes, I never point at anyone. Yeah, this is just general vibes. You see the boys and you have a chat to them, this and that, and we talked about our prison experiences and, why are you here? What did you do? Just DM, about the stuff we went through. And we're cutting, some are mowing the grass, and I used the whippersnipper, and I was picking up rubbish for about 2 hours, and it was pretty good, right? Like, there's not much you can do. I went down, I'm like, look, I've got 7 hours, so just work, and that's why, I've got all this stuff stuck on me. I just came out of work. But yeah, it's the actions I've done, right? But it's my fault. There's no one to blame. And whether I like it or not, whether I'm upset, whether I'm pissed off, whether I'm happy, whether I like it or not, I have to go and do it, right? I'm taking responsibility for my actions. It's not even about me. The government or whatever rules and regulations force you to do this, right? Even if I don't want to do it. But I just want to point out one aspect, like one important bit of information. I was speaking to a Aussie fella, similar to my age, and he's done a lot longer time in prison than me. As I've always stated, 4 months is nothing, right? There's people out there that's done years. And he's told me that he's done 2 years, and he got out recently as well, been to the same prison that I have, and, we talked, and we shared our experiences about, how even, a cigarette is so valuable and important, and how everything is different on the inside. Anyways, besides, like, the point of the general vibe of the day and all that, someone that's done 2 years, right? He literally said these exact words, and I honestly, my jaw dropped when I heard it, because I honestly thought he was following my page or something, or it was so, like, real, where and it's my first time meeting him, yeah, and he doesn't follow my page or anything like that. He's never seen me, but he said these exact words. He goes, man, Aussie fella, non-Muslim, yeah. again, what I always try to preach, I don't care if you're Muslim, non-Muslim, atheist, whatever they may be, right? And he goes, people always say I've been through it and all that, all the difficulties, this and that. And look, I've done time in prison. He goes, I actually lost everything, yeah. And like difficulties yes, it can vary. It doesn't mean that this person's better or above or below, whatever it may be. It's just besides the point, yeah. And he goes, I've lost everything, yeah? And it's what I've said as well. You lose your job, you get a criminal record, you end up in prison, your mental health gets affected deeply, you have to live the trauma, you have to live the experience, it's the damage stays, right? And getting back up could be really, really hard, yeah? And he's saying these exact words, right? He goes, honestly, I say fuck it. He goes, I say, you don't know what rock bottom is. Don't, come and tell me about it. He shrugged his shoulders, explaining exactly like this. And, he said, I don't give a fuck. He goes, you don't know what rock bottom is. He goes, I've been there. And then he follows it up with, he goes, you know what? He goes, I want to become a mentor. He goes, I'm actually studying. And he goes, I want to preach out to people. And he goes, exact words, he goes, if I can save one person out there, he goes, one life, so they don't have to go through the stuff that I went through, I'll be happy. He goes, that's why I'm studying and I want to do mentoring. And the reason why I was shocked is not like to stroke my ego, arrogance, saying, he said the words that I said. No, I was just so genuinely happy. I'm like, wow, and we had a mad convo, we talked and we spoke, and it was mad, and I felt so happy, right? I'm like, wow, man, is this not an example of what I'm trying to say on my message of this whole division with this, rules and regulations? So now you come and tell me, if I was to sit there, or if anyone is to sit there, and for example, that guy, right, decides to preach, right, which is what he wants to do, mentoring, and he decides to talk about religion, yeah? Now, is it right for me or anyone to be like, no, you can't, you're not qualified, you've been to prison, you need to study, you don't know what you're talking about. No, you haven't, don't talk about religion. Don't preach. How arrogant and stupid does that sound? How much of a douchebag, of a dickhead would I have to be to, let's say I even stated that to him in person. Now imagine I said that to him in person, face to face, right? Anyone would get pissed off. And it's not about the guy, it's an example, right? If I said it to anyone out there that made this statement, and there are many people out there that make statements like that want to preach, that aren't Muslim, that could even be atheists, but they want to preach good and they want to talk about religion in a good way, with good intentions, right? And if anyone out there in person, not behind the microphone, not in the mosque, not in your fortified, buildings and organizations, right? In person, to a person like this. This is what I mean, real talk, right? Go say that to a person that's come out of prison, that's come out of drugs, like me, yeah, for example, me. Or anyone, go say it face to face, one on one. Be like, you can't talk, what you stated is wrong. Say it to him, look him in the eyes, say it to me or anyone out there, be like, you can't talk about religion. You're not qualified. You didn't study. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a hypocrite. You don't have a degree. You don't have a position. And then, AI generations being related to Dajjal and, being called a hero, being called, all these names, and, you hear these sentences. We will, enter paradise because of our qualification and what we believe in and the positions that we're in, and because we are this group and we are this position, and honestly, okay, since you want to talk behind the microphone, because I don't hide behind anything, I'll say these exact same words to anyone in person, because I'm not trying to act like a sick cunt. And when he said that, I respected it with the utmost respect. I smiled and I got really happy, And I'm like, good on you, man. I said these exact words. I'm like, good on you, bro. I'm like, go ahead and do it. Because ex- exactly what I said he wants. I'm like, do it. Not one bit of judgment into his religion, into his culture, where he's from, if he's religious, if he's not religious, qualification, nothing. Nothing. Yeah, because that's what the real world is. That's what reality is. Yeah, I don't go behind, and these comments have been made as well. In AI, you can be whatever you want. In behind the phone, because apparently I don't have a crowd again next to me, I'm apparently free to do whatever I want and speak however I want. Yeah, and I'm being called the hero. When I clearly say to everyone, look, I'm not a scholar. I'm not qualified. I'm a dropout. I've been to prison. I put all my sins and all my embarrassment, literally embarrassments, in saying, yes, I have anxiety, I have depression, I get panic attacks, I call Lifeline, I've done drugs, I've done sin, and I put everything on the line, and I'm hiding. I'm the one that's hiding. Brother, who am I hiding from? Did I not clearly state, and this is not trying to be a sick cunt, did I not clearly state, when you, and I'll put it to you in terms that you'll understand, when life hits you so hard, right? And that's the thing, the difference in losing and difficulties and all that. When you hit rock bottom, and he said the exact same thing as well, and anyone that goes through it, you don't fear anything. You stop giving a single fuck. You're like, brother, I've seen it, and nothing happened. You say to yourself, I'm done. I don't care. And this doesn't mean that scholars and people that imams and any nature of organizations or educated people don't have any right in speaking. I've always, if anything, I'll learn my knowledge from these people. You learn this way, the Jama'at, the community learns through churches, through Islam, through organizations. That's what they're for. We learn that knowledge from those people, those scholars, and people that have studied for years. They're the ones that give us the religion on the Prophet's life and the Quran and the deep explanation and all that. I am admitting that. I am respecting that. I have no issues with that. That is again, I'm stating the obvious. That is very, very clear. Very clear. No one's denying that. Not one person out there. If you go out to anyone and say, would you disagree to a person that's studied for 4 years or 10 years and that has these qualifications and the bachelor proof of degrees and whatnot? You would most likely say, yeah, I respect it. People will generally be like, yeah, that's I can see the proof of it. That's not my aim. That's not my problem. There is no issues with that. What my issue is when it comes to statements that are being spoken, yeah, because let's swap the role. Let's swap the roles, right? I'm a very active person. I can't study. I can't focus myself. I can't go to uni. I can't, for example, pick up a book and get those I can't. We're all different in character. I'm not capable of that, and I fully admit that. And another person can. Good on ya. But just the way I can't do that, how do you see yourself, right? You gotta always flip the table and see both sides to a story. It's not only one-sided. If a person has been an imam, a scholar in a certain environment for all of their life, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. For 10, 15, 20 years longer, which, means more respect. Then how are you going to have this experience where you are at a CCO, picking up garbage, cutting grass, and next to criminals, and I'm a criminal myself, and having this conversation and living the experience that I live? Or vice versa goes to me as well. How do I know what the other person's going through? People that have done longer years than me, people that have done worse drugs than me, people that have gone through worse trauma than me. I've heard, you hear stories constantly of insane stories in throughout life. It's not in just about prison. You hear this and your eyes open up. People say, very honestly saying, yeah, I've got raped as a child. My parents abandoned me. There were people homeless in prison. When the guy came out, there was one person that's been in prison 20 times because they have nowhere to go outside. They don't have anywhere to go. And you ask him, you have this conversation, and the guy straight up says, yeah, my mum left. And then, this isn't judgment. This isn't judgment. This isn't to, and I'm not giving any names or trying to shame anyone. This is a general topic. You don't know who I'm talking about, yeah? So there's nothing wrong with me stating these. If I was giving names and pointing fingers, then yes, what I'm doing is wrong. But these are the experiences, the knowledge that I have. You hear these stories, yeah? And he exists. He exists. He exists all around the world. Children, being traumatized at a very young age. Abandoned. Divorces. Rape. Parents leaving, getting married 2-3 times. Parents, I've seen this where the mum dad goes, fuck off, like, I don't want you in the house, and leaves him outside. I met one person saying, yeah, look, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't have an address. There were people in there with no address, or there was no phone number or email address. They didn't have an address. So we know this. Again, this is all general knowledge. It's not about knowing. Like that's not that. Again, that's what I'm trying to preach. No, it's not. We have the world's information. If anything, we live in a time where we're flooded with information. Are you telling me that? Again, I've said this before as well. Are you telling me there are courses you can do online in your bedroom? In your bedroom. Without even, during COVID, were the courses not all online? Can I not jump onto a computer and sign up to a course in the comfort of my bedroom and do my research and get a degree? This isn't to belittle anything, but we live in a day and age where information is flooded to a point where you don't even know what's right or wrong, what's reliable and what's not reliable. So it's not about that. You go back maybe 100, 200 years ago when you didn't have internet. Then yes, that person out there, it's different circumstances. Again, this isn't to belittle anyone. It's that person out there has, had to physically open up the book and had to go through a lot more difficulties to preach that information. But now you have ChatGPT, you have Google, you have Gemini, you have all, like, you have a phone, you have a phone that holds, like, you can connect to any scholar worldwide, anywhere, and get proper, reliable information. If you just do your research properly, just ask saying, what are some reliable sources, information that's factually correct, people that are trustable and reliable. It takes 5 minutes to get a fatwa, and these come from scholars. These come from people that are educated. These come from imams that have studied and that have attributed their lives in today and in the past. But now, for example, it takes me 5-10 minutes. I don't have to study for years and years, for example. I just simply listen to a podcast, I do a research, I read. It might take me half an hour, 1 hour, and I get that information. But that 1 hour doesn't mean, I've only got 1 hour information. That's backed up to a scholar that's put his years. That's backed up to something else. That's backed up with tons of information and knowledge and years spent. And, a lot of personal time spent to give that information, to put it on Google. Now, if I'm getting that information, that doesn't mean that, I've only got 1 hour of information or 10-minute research. Is that how we view things now? So when I write on Google Maps an address, am I disregarding the whole system, all the technology, the car that went around, the van that went around, for navigation to even come this far, where it's so easy to type? Where I know from taxi drivers just 10-15 years ago, they were using books when they were doing taxi driving and Uber driving because they didn't have phones. This was 10-15 years ago. So now, because it takes me 30 seconds to type, am I suddenly disregarding all the information? Am I not, where's this going? Where's the logic in this? Every bit of technology we use is backed up to all of humankind for the phone and technology to come get here. What I'm trying to preach and what I've said constantly over and over again, stop making statements into thinking that people cannot speak whatever they want. People can preach whatever the fuck they want, whenever they want, regardless of who they are, right? Because it clearly states in Islam, you physically haven't opened up anyone's heart. I haven't done it. No one else has done it. And it says this in the Quran, in the Islam, very clearly. Have you opened up their heart and seen what their intentions are? Have you? Because comments like that are so strong, where because I've come from this life where, you know, the dirty life, the sinful life, the outside life, where I've seen the criminals, and I have a different environment, and I go into a religious gathering of people that have just surrounded themselves with safety nets, and they haven't seen half of the stuff that I've seen. Just the way I haven't maybe studied half the amount of knowledge that they've studied. But how is a scholar going to ever be in a bus on a weekday collecting rubbish, speaking to a criminal and having this experience? You're not going to have that. You don't have a criminal record. You haven't been to prison. So how are you going to connect with that person behind your microphone, in your mosque, in your organization? How are you going to have this experience? And the people that have this experience, not just me, there's many people online that try to preach good. They like, and I urge everyone to do, and I'll see it on social media, regardless of their religion, how they look, whatever it is. You just see kindness and preach to them, and that's it. Full stop. Full stop. People put their comment, as long as your intentions are clean, as long as you say to yourself, I'm doing this to help someone out, just the way that person said it. Same words. If I could save one person, so that's it. Full stop. There is no more arguments after that. And if anything, you have many scholars that saying right now it's not about knowing and the information. We know that drinking alcohol is haram. We know that smoking weed is haram. We know that you have to go to Hajj. We know that doing interest is haram. Why are we still doing it then? If it was about the knowledge and preach and studying, why are Muslims still doing it? Let alone the non-Muslims and non-believers. Why are the Muslims consuming interest? Why am I consuming interest? Why have I smoked drugs and come from that sinful life? Why am I doing it? Because clearly all the information is loaded on Spotify, on YouTube, on the internet. There is tons and tons of information. You've got your point across. You have. It's very clear. Yes, you are a scholar. You are knowledgeable. You have a position. You belong somewhere. Yes, we acknowledge that you've studied. Yes, you're a big boy. Yes, we know what you say is true. Yes, yes, yes. But can you turn the table and understand where we're coming from? To a person that is homeless, to a person that comes from a family where they're abandoned, they're raped, they don't have an address, they don't have a home. They come from families which are much more, and I consider myself very lucky. When you got to always look at people below you. Can we look at other people that have gone through worse? Oh, but we live in Australia, yeah, because I live in a rich suburb, so these stuff don't exist. Evil doesn't exist in Australia. It's only overseas. In Australia, life is amazing. It's the country of freedom and richness, and everyone's so happy and comfortable. Yeah, right? Right? We are so comfortable, and we're all happy. And we have big houses and we have cars. Yeah? What world do you live in? Do you think poverty and hardships and evil doesn't exist in Australia? Okay, good on you for surrounding yourself with good people, good community, good environment. You must do that. I'm not saying you have to go put yourself in riskful situations, in people that you don't want to have an interaction with. I'm not saying that. Protect yourself. Do as you will. If you want to get married, get married. If you want to only see certain people, see only certain people. If you want to keep yourself safe, do it. I respect that. But not everyone can do what you do. Right? Turn the table. Not everyone is as strong as you. Not everyone is as lucky as you. Everyone has a different character. When the Quran was first revealed, was it revealed saying you have to leave alcohol, you have to leave fornication? Go do your research then. How long did it take for Islam to ban alcohol? Did it not take years? Before even getting into sin, Quran built the foundation, the iman, the belief first, the idea of the belief first, and then years later it started preaching saying you can't do this, you can't do that. But now you open up, you go into any sort of religious gathering, and it's like a machine gun just fired at you, one after another, you can't smoke weed, you can't do this, you can't speak on religion, you know, any AI generation is dangerous because it is this, and anyone online that speaks has no knowledge, and you're just attacked one after another, one after another, one after another into. And I honestly sit there, I'm like, holy shit, bro. Like, you come out of there feeling like you are the worst person in the world. Like, you're going to go to 7 levels of hell, and you're doomed for life, and you're finished, and you have no mercy from God, and you know you're done for because you've sinned, and you're a terrible person, and you're disgusting in your ways, and you are nothing. That's what I get out of it. That's what I've been getting out of it, because it's just constant attack, constant. You have to do this, you have to do that, you can't do this, and you can't do that. 99% of the people already know this information that you're given. Yes, of course, it's got an amazing benefit in preaching these stuff, but be realistic. Be a bit more compassionate and get off your high horse, brother. Get off your high horse. Get off your high horse and honestly, do what I told you. Go out onto the street. If you're such a man, yeah? If you're such a man, a person that's on drugs, a person that's dangerous, yeah? A criminal, a dropout, go and look them in the eyes and be like, you can't speak that. And see what happens. Yeah, if you can't say something in person, and whatever I say here, I say in person to everyone. I don't say like what I say here in camera in person to anyone that I'll say the same thing. Of course, if they're close to me and if I feel comfortable enough that they want to learn this information, I will speak exactly like this. I don't speak any different. I am who I am. I don't hide it. But if you can't speak those behind your organization, behind the microphone to a person, then don't speak like that. Don't. Because you've got hundreds or you've got thousands of people that are listening, and there might be that one person, that broken person like me in that audience that's come from sin, that's already at the bottom, that's on the verge of giving up, that's their world is already collapsed on them, and they're about to give up on religion. And they are about to call it quits, where they say, I'm done with God. And I've come to that point where I've said many times, and I've given this example before as well. There was only one voice in my chest, one voice left, literally one hope left, where I said I wasn't praying, I wasn't fasting, I was far away from religion, right? But I had this one voice that I didn't shut down. I'm like, you know what? Whatever I do, it's wrong. Full stop. Like, I admit it, and it's wrong. Full stop. And that's it. And if I shut that voice down, honest to God, if I continue shutting that voice down, I would have, my heart would have been sealed by God anyway, and I would have been done with Islam for life. I would have been done. And once God seals your heart and He closes that door, because it's Allah who guides, it's God who guides. It is not you who guides anyone. It is not any organization. It is not your words. It is not what you study. It is not your qualification. It is not your degree. It is not you. In one of the wars of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he threw the dirt, I think it was Badr or Uhud, they were outnumbered 300 to I can't remember the exact figures, but outnumbered. And I don't want to give incorrect information. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam grabs the dust and he throws it, and it goes into the disbelievers' eyes, and they end up winning the war. Back then it was physical, right? And I'm not trying to promote physical violence or war in any sort of way. It's just an example, an analogy into the story behind that. Does God not clearly say to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, clearly, very clearly say that it was not you that threw the dust into the disbelievers' eyes, and it was me? And does it not clearly say, does God clearly doesn't give any sort of attribute or celebration to the Prophet himself or the companion, saying, yes, you guys won, you guys are strong? Nothing like that. God clearly says, it was me. I did it. I'm the one that guided it. I'm the one that made you guys win. Full stop. This is to the Prophet himself. And now you have these scholars and these, imams that think that guidance comes from their knowledge and from their yes, in a way, it's a part of it. You do your duty. Yes, these are important. Yes. But when it comes to such heavy statements, how do you know what that person is going through in the audience? pick and choose your words. Yes, you're strong religiously. Yes, you've outcome and you've outgrown your ego and you've gone through difficulties and you've studied and you've faced your storms and you've risen above. Yes, 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 yes. No one is disagreeing to that. That is why you're given that name as a scholar, as an imam. That is why you're put in that position. That is why you're given that title. That's already attributed to you. You've already got all the qualifications and the acknowledgement that you need. But trying to fight this into saying AI is this and that when you might know very clearly that I'm doing AI generation, or anyone out there, that how do I know what that person's AI generation's intention is? How do I even have the guts or the balls to even go up and be like, nah, it can be good, but AI is dangerous and don't listen to that? How do I know? How do I know? How? I don't make any statements like that in any sort of case. But I am being very, very persistent into speaking very strongly against scholars and imam, because now, because you've studied, right? You've studied. You know. So I'm not attacking the people that don't know. Right? And it's not even an attack in a way. I'm only using these words because I see it as, from the knowledge that I've been receiving and the feedback that I've been getting from people that, the religious topics have just gone like completely out of way, like into a whole different, route. And it's not even about, like, I don't know what it's gone into. Honestly, it's just, to me, it just sounds political. It's politics. There is no real talk. There is no one saying, oh, you know what? Today, a scholar imam goes up there and be like, oh, yep, let's talk about porn. Why do people watch porn? And I'm sure there are people that talk about this, 100%. I'm not denying that there's millions and billions of humans. I can't follow up everyone. Yeah, we're flooded with information. But I'm saying a majority, I'm not diving into real topics. And it's just become political in ways that they don't even know. Oh, study, read, resources. Yes, we understand. What's next? You go next week. You listen again. And then it's the same thing again. Oh, but we are here because of this organization. And then you try again. You go next week. We're here because we are together and we are in this movement. And then you try again. And meanwhile, over the years, talking on my behalf, not giving any names or pointing fingers, I was constantly sitting. I'm on the verge, mind you. I'm on the verge at the time of calling it quits. Literally saying to myself, God is evil. I'm gonna become atheist. Like, because I used to ask myself, saying, man, why is God making me go through this? Why? Like, why am I being punished? And that's exactly what people think. That is the thought of the devil. Why am I being punished? That's what I used to ask myself. Why am I not getting the answers that I want? Why do I feel attacked because I'm a sinner? I'm talking on my behalf. I've smoked weed, I've done the sin and whatever, I drank alcohol, and I decide to go to a gathering and I hear statements like, oh, do this and do that. And we are, this part, if you're one of us, you're one of us. If you're not, then you're doomed. You have like hundreds of different people that are on their religion, people that aren't on their religion. And now there's this rule, and this very specific rule where, it's gone to a point where it's literally like the president coming in, like the president of the country. The sheikh comes in, the imam comes in, it's complete silence. Yeah, he comes in, he speaks for 45 minutes, 1 hour. Not a word can be said. Questions, interruption, nothing can be done. He speaks whatever he wants. 45 minutes, 1 hour. And then boom, he's out. That's it. Full stop. That's it. And it's done weekly. at his own time, at his own pace, at his own knowledge, and that's it. But then you look at the Prophet's life, or all the Prophet's life, from Jesus to Moses, to all religions, and you look at the Prophet's life, and these Prophets have sat with people, and they've listened to their problems, and they dealt with every person's character individually, from the angry person to the religious person, to the person that's not as religious, to a person that's weak in their faith, to a person that's strong in their faith. And you look back, because you're meant to look at the Prophet, and that's the only example you're meant to get. That's what Quran clearly says. Scholars come afterwards because they have to study through the Prophet's life. You look at the Prophets, yeah, and they sit with people, and they go as far, and I'm not saying this is correct, but they go as far as to being attacked, abused. Did our Prophet Muhammad did they not dump the intestines of an animal on him? Did they not try to kill him? Did they not try to assassinate him? Did they not abuse him? And now, in today's day and age, you have complete silence. 45 minutes in a hall or wherever it may be online. Complete silence, like a dictatorship. The guy comes in, he walks, he says whatever he needs to say. No questions asked. And if you do, it's like straight, not valid saying, oh, you're this, not direct insults, right? Not direct insults. But like through channels, oh, don't speak if you don't know. Okay, boss. Sorry, brother. Sorry, am I meant to worship you or something? Sorry, can I not look into religion and pick up the Quran and try interpreting it the way I want? Quran is the book, or any book, the Bible, Torah, is these books are written. God says this, saying it speaks directly to an individual. Nowhere does it fucking write that it speaks. It doesn't speak to an individual, and you need a scholar or a qualified person. It does not write that. This stuff came afterwards, not 1,500 years ago. These are culture. These are organizations. This is politics. What you're meant to focus on is 1,500 years ago, and what the Prophet said. Full stop. If anyone wants to pick up the Bible or the Quran and they want to interpret that verse the way they want to, that's up to them. Full stop. If they're not doing any damage, right? That's my main thing. If they have good intentions and they're not harming anyone, right? And they have the good intentions, whether they have good intentions or not, even if they have that, who are you to try to control that? Is there not God up there that controls everything? Doesn't not say that it's Allah that guides whom He wills and gives victory to whom He wills and gives knowledge and forgives whom He wills? I've been saying this for years and years, into people thinking that they have control over what happens. Brother, you have no control. I don't give a shit about your status, where you're from, how many years. You have no control. If God doesn't allow it, He doesn't allow it. Full stop. You can talk, you can study for 600 years. Whether someone has good or bad, let's say they have evil intentions. Okay, you've done your part, you've stated your part. Why are you continuing and going deeper and deeper and making it even more political? And instead of trying to fix the problem, instead of trying to solve the problem, why are you still so persistent in your words? Your words only matter and no one else can. When did it ever become about this? When did it ever become that? To speak about religion, you must be a Hodja, and you get jokes like this even to the point where when you start speaking religious, like it's all jokes, it's like people start calling you a sheikh. That's how lost we are. When you even start speaking religion, you get bagged from like we're young or whatever. It's all jokes. Like I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, but that's the impression that's given. If you're in a group of mates and you pray, or you even try saying, yeah, you know what, I think the Quran, it's like, oh, okay, sheikh, okay, Hoja, okay, scholar, you get statements like this. Because there's classes and categories and division, and no one wants to put their ego down and put their own mistakes and their own sins, saying, you know what, I'm weak, I've done this. No one wants to state this. You don't see words coming out like this saying, you know what, yeah, I've got reputation, I've got a huge reputation, years and years of reputation, but you know what? I've done wrong in this sense. I admit it. I admit that I have problems. I admit that I have mental problems where I get depressed. We're human. It doesn't make you less of a person. No one wants to admit that. Everyone wants to show themselves as strong, indestructible, bulletproof, figuratively. You know, strong in the sense where I came here. I'm on top of the mountain. I've done it. So my word goes. So when I speak, 45 minutes, and that's it. Full stop.